Well, good evening, everybody, and firstly, thank you for your interest and thank you for joining us. We have a reasonable number of people that have registered this evening, so I expect that we will have a number of other people join us as we progress, but we might get underway. Just before we start the presentation, just from a general administrative perspective or the arrangements for the meeting, this meeting's been ran as a webinar presentation, so all the participants are on mute, which helps us to make sure that the standard of the video and audio isn't distorted. People have had the opportunity to raise questions as part of their registration and can also raise further questions using the chat function on Zoom by typing in your questions. We will go through our presentation, then we'll address a number of the questions that have been raised through the registration process, and if time allows, we will then address questions from the chat session, but hopefully the presentation itself will address a large number of those. The session is being recorded this evening for our purposes. We are endeavouring to constantly improve these Zoom presentations as we hope to continue a program of information sessions for residents and stakeholders at North Sydney Council, and the recording will be used for that purpose. For those I haven't met, and looking at a number of some of the names that are coming up on the screen in front of me, there are people that I haven't met before. My name's Ken Goldthorpe. I'm the General Manager at Council, and here with me this evening is Mr. Duncan Mitchell, the Director of Engineering and Property Services at Council. Mr. Mitchell is charged with the responsibility of delivering the project, and once the project is completed, the facility will then be handed back to our Open Space and Recreation division, who will continue to operate the new facility. Just before handing over to Mr. Mitchell for his presentation, I think it's appropriate I give just a little bit of context to the redevelopment or renewal of the North Sydney Olympic Pool, which is now just getting underway with the constructor taking possession of the site last week. And Mr. Mitchell will provide more detail about that. But this project has been in the design, delivery, concept stages for many years. And Council is very pleased that we're now able to progress forward and actually start the construction and delivery of a new North Sydney Olympic Pool that hopefully will service the community for the next 50 to 80 years. The existing facility is 84 years old and has very much got to the end of its useful life. I think it's important to understand as we move ahead of this project, it was not or is not now a question of whether to do the redevelopment or continue the pool as it was. It's very much a question of whether we closed the pool or renewed it. The 84-year-old facility or any engineering constructed facility has a limited life, and at 84 years of age, the North Sydney Olympic Pool that we know today has served this community very well. In undertaking the detailed design for the new facility or working through the preliminary process to a construction project of this size, significant thought has gone into the specification for the project and how we might operate it into the future. A number of the key criteria that we've taken into consideration through that process is firstly providing a facility that will provide a broad range of services or functions to meet the requirements of a broad demographic. I mean, there are many people that use a swimming pool and recreation facility of this size for different purposes, and we aimed to provide a facility that will provide something for as broad a demographic as possible. That included increasing the facilities for younger children, increasing the facilities for learn to swim, maintaining the standard 50-metre swimming pool for normal lap type swimming, providing a facility that provided greater options for the more mature of us, and that is becoming and mature individuals are a greater portion of attendees at any public swimming pool in this day and age. So warm water pools, where people can socialise and recreate are very important. We've also given significant thought to providing a facility that at the end of the day can meet its own costs. So we were very conscious as we designed the functionality of the pool or the facility to ensure that we designed a facility that could pay its own way rather than requiring ongoing annual subsidisation from ratepayers. And that's been an important consideration as we looked at the function mix of the facility. And I can talk a little bit more about that later on. But with that background, I'm going to hand over to Mr. Mitchell, who will give a more detailed presentation and in particularly address what happens from here on as we move into the construction phase. Duncan, over to you.
Okay. Thanks, Ken. Good evening, everyone. As Ken has said in his introduction, my name is Duncan Mitchell, Director of Engineering and Property Services. And how I'd like to start the presentation off tonight is to play you a video that has been supplied to us by the builder of the pool as part of their tender package. And this video shows the progress of the construction, the progress of the pool against a timeline. So if you look at the bottom of the video as it's going through, you'll notice that there's a timeline that shows you what the construction activity is at that particular point in time and also what the site will look like in that point of time. So I'll now play the video. what the construction involves. So it clearly shows you the demolition, the extent of demolition. It also then clearly shows you traffic and truck movements in and out of the construction site, and then also how the site is then returned. Inside, and talk a little bit about the facilities as well as I go through the slides. So I'll start that presentation now, and we'll go through the PowerPoint.
Just as Duncan is bringing that up to be shared, I'll just point out that that video also may have given observers the opportunity to understand some of the complexities of the construction as well. And that, of course, is an important factor in how this redevelopment project is going ahead. In essence, the limited access to the site, and you can see the access to the site is predominantly from the southeastern corner at the bottom end of Alfred Street, where it meets the boulevard. And in essence, they're then accessed to demolish from there forward and then rebuild from the back of the site forward. This wasn't a project that we could split into different components and do in stages. It needed to be done in one piece. We didn't have, for example, the option of addressing the outside Olympic pool and then coming back to address the grandstand later on, because the reality of accessing to the site and the buildability of the facility required it to be done in one as one project. So I said the PowerPoint's up, Duncan, so I'll hand it back to you.
Okay, thanks. So I'm now going to run through, there's a number of slides, but I'll go through each one in detail for everyone. So I think, as everyone's aware, the tender was awarded to Icon Constructions in December 2020 to undertake the redevelopment. The last day the pool was open to the public was on the 28th of February, and it's been closed since that date. There was then a period of time for council staff to decommission the pool and what was left of the pool. So we spent from the 28th of February until the 9th of March removing all of the gym equipment, all of the furniture that was left over, and also a number of the loose items to do with the pool, the lane ropes, etc. All had to be relocated, and we have 3 storage sites where they're relocated. So we have the council depot where the heritage artefacts of the pool are stored. So they're all the honour boards, the photographs, and all what I call the delicate heritage are stored down at council's depot. And then we have another storage site in East Crescent Street and also another storage site down in McMahon's Point, where we're storing the not so delicate heritage of the pool that we're going to bring back. So some of the gym items, some of the furniture items of the pool are stored down there. We also contacted Reverse Garbage from Marrickville and invited them to come and see what material that we didn't want that they might want for recycling purposes, and they took away a number of truckloads of material for recycling. Namely, they were very interested in all the floor mats, the rubber floor mats that were used in all the wet areas of the old pool. To them, that had high value in terms of being able to be recycled, so they took away all of that. And also a number of, you might be wondering where a number of those plastic chairs and umbrellas went. That they also went to good homes, either to be reused or recycled. So a lot of the stuff from the pool that was left over has found a home. And then some of the things like the computers, the television screens, copiers, all of that sort of stuff, that has been redistributed to our community facilities. So we had a number of community facilities that also took on that IT equipment. So we were very happy to see that a lot of that material found a home, and also we were able to get that done in record time to be able to hand the site over to the builder on the 9th of March. So official handover was on the 9th of March, and there was an official ceremony for that handover, a smoking ceremony that Icon Constructions put on, and that went off very well. There were over 60 to 70 people who attended that ceremony, and we've now officially commenced construction. So the construction is scheduled to go for the next 20 months, with reopening, all going well, in November 2022. So now I'm going to run through some components of the new facility, and I'll talk about each one as we go through. So we'll start with, I guess, the entry. It's a good place to start, the main entry of the new facility. As you can see there, we've kept the old stair facility, and also what we're proposing to do as part of that is to reactivate and reopen the original entry to the pool, which has been closed, I believe, since 2000. It's just been glassed in, but that original stair tower entry there will now become 2 glass sliding doors, and you'll be able to enter and exit through that facility when required, particularly if you're going to be using, say, the gym after hours and some of the other facilities after hours, and you don't need to come through the main entry there. So immediately adjacent to the old heritage entry is the new proposed main entry, and the first thing that will happen when you come through those entry doors off Alfred Street is you'll go through a small retail shop. So we anticipate to expand the retail offer at the pool, and we've allowed for that in the new design and the new facility. So there'll be a retail shop as you come into the new counter, and the customer service counter will be located at the back of that glassed-in area that you can see in the image there, and staff will be then taking customers through a turnstile entry similar to what we have at the moment into level 3 of the 25-metre pool. We've facilitated out on Alfred Street, as you can see in the image there will be bike parking. There's actually a significant more bike parking than what's shown in this artist's impression. But also there's good visibility from the customer service desk out into Alfred Street, which there currently isn't. I think, as you know, as you come into the entry to the pool, there isn't great visibility out onto Alfred Street. So part of this design was to improve that visibility for staff, but also for customers coming to the pool, to make sure there are good sight lines in and out of that main entry area. This is a bird's eye view of the new development, and as I said before, the key heritage features of the pool will be retained. The stair tower, the original stair tower, will be retained, and we're spending quite a bit of time, money and effort to restore the heritage stair tower. So, you know, we're going to be replacing all of the windows. We're going to be cleaning up the brickwork, the paintwork, the tessellated tile stairs. The internal fit out of that will be completely renewed. So it gets complete overhaul in the new development. And also to make it accessible, we're introducing a new, it's already got a lift in it, as you know, but we're introducing what we call a mid-level stop to allow people to access, the less able-bodied people to access the sun deck, which they've really never been able to do before, except by using what we call a rail lift access, which is not ideal in this day and age. So the lift will stop at the sun deck and allow people to alight at the sun deck if they need to, if they're in wheelchairs or they're less able. Obviously, the main heritage wall along Olympic Drive is retained as well. So that is also going to be restored. So the brickwork where it's damaged, the decorative motifs where they're damaged, will all be carefully restored back to original condition. And also the sun deck will be rebuilt in its almost original location, but extended, and this doesn't show it, but I'll show you on another side, and extended all the way across to the Olympic Drive wall. And so the sun deck is going to be rebuilt using the bricks that can be harvested from the site. And one of the key heritage conditions is that we do harvest the original bricks, and that brickwork will be used to build the new sun deck over the children's leisure pool. This is a view then looking east in an easterly way. So this is looking back down the pool towards the harbour bridge. And the key elements, I guess, that you can see from this image is that the western stair is going to be completely rebuilt. Aqua dining is going to be retained. We're not doing any work really in aqua dining at all. So that building is retained. We'll be upgrading the brickwork and restoring the brickwork where it's damaged. But we will be pretty much leaving aqua dining as is. This bird's eye view also shows you, I guess, the new grandstand that will be built and the all weatherproof canopy that goes over the grandstand. So the grandstand houses about 970 people, a crowd of 970, and it's a split level grandstand. And I'll get to the reason why the grandstand is a split level. This also shows you the view of the children's leisure pool at the far end of the site, at the southeastern end of the site there. You can have an idea of what that looks like. And I guess one of the key elements of the children's leisure pool is that it does now connect through under the sun deck into the southern end of the site. So the sun deck straddles the children's leisure pool. And that's just another view that shows you bird's eye view of what the new facility looks like. So generally, this is just an artist's impression that shows what the new fixtures will be of the pool, and then this seating bleachers, if you like, against the heritage wall there. So that's a large seating area that goes all the way along the wall, and that just gives you an idea of also some of the finishes of the pool deck itself. And that's just another view of showing you what the new starting blocks will look like, and the tile finish, the colour of the tile finish of the tiles that are going to be used around the pool. And I'll talk a little bit more later about the colour selection palette and the materials selection palette as we go through the presentation. So I will move through to that in the next few slides. And that's just a view, an artist's view of what it would look like. Obviously, the new pool is tiled under the water. It's completely tiled under the water with new tiles. A slightly different view, I guess, of what you have now with the pool liner. And that just shows you an idea of what the pool tiles look like. This is a view looking directly at the new grandstand structure. And as you can see there, it clearly shows the weatherproof canopy that goes over the top level of the structure. It also clearly shows you that the split level in the middle there is the area where we're putting the new gym. It's over a 1,000 square metre gym. And then it also shows you the entries in and out of the new amenities. So the family change is that area you can see with the, I'll call it the tan or the brown background with the white change table in the middle of it. That is the family change area. And then you've got the male-female facilities pretty much near their existing locations as you come onto the 50-metre pool deck. And then also further to the east of this screen is the children's creche area. The idea was to locate the family change in the children's creche and children's interactive pool as close to possible. So obviously parents and children don't have as long to move through the facility as they use it. It also shows you, I guess, some of the decorative concrete motifs that we'll be using, and that design, even though it's very fine-grained in this image, is taken off the existing concrete Art Deco, if you like, motifs that exist at the pool today, and it's been modelled on that. And these decorative finishes and motifs that are done in the concrete, perforated concrete, you'll see come up time and time again as I go through this presentation. So now I'll talk a little bit about the indoor facilities. So the new 25-metre pool, the warm water pool, spa and steam room and family change facilities. So as you know, we are replacing the existing 6-lane or 5.5-lane 25-metre pool with a brand new 4-lane 25-metre pool, and then a warm water pool that is designed specifically for activities like hydrotherapy or recovery to be used, and also for some learn to swim as well activities. And then there's a spa and a sauna, and again, family change facilities, which I'll show you in a minute. That's a view looking towards the east of the facility. It shows you that this is both, I didn't mention before, but all our pools are now fully accessible. The 50-metre pool has a ramp that goes into it, and this facility here, the 25-metre and the warm water pools, also have ramps that enable full access into those facilities. And this is a view looking the other way. And as you can see, the family change area is that large area at the back of the screen there. That is the family change. And then on either side of that, you have the male-female change facilities for the 25-metre pool. You can clearly see the 4 lanes there, and you can also see the warm water pool and the spa pool as well there. This slide doesn't show you that ramp has actually changed location and it's been swapped to the other side of the 25-metre pool. So before you start sending questions in about that, this is just an artist's impression that hasn't been updated. That ramp is swapped over to the other side to allow people who do things, or to allow activities like aquarobics to be undertaken in pretty much exactly the same location as they're undertaken now, so that you can put your elbows up on the edge of the pool and look out through the glass windows. Again, a view just looking back towards the entry area. And just as you come through that entry area into the pool, you can probably just pick up in the back of the screen there, can use my icon, in the back of the screen here is the new cafe facility. Okay, so there's a food and beverage facility on this level as well, tables and chairs, and a cafeteria that's in this location here so that people can buy food. A view looking at the green wall at the back of the facility. This is a view of the new gym, as I said, that's put between the 2 levels of the grandstand. The gym will have views directly out onto the new 50-metre pool, but also across the harbour to the harbour bridge and the Opera House and the city skyline. So it's quite a scenic gym, and you can see there it's also much larger than the existing Lane 9 gym, and that just gives you an idea of some of the finishes. This is a view of what the new Ripples Cafe will look like from a bit of a bird's eye view, and it also shows you how the sun deck actually now comes all the way across to butt into the wall on Olympic Boulevard, the Heritage Wall. This is what the cafe facility will look like on the inside. So the service area of the cafe on the inside of the 50-metre pool clearly shows that. And again, you can see the sun deck comes all the way across. It splits the roof in 2. This is the children's interactive pool. And interestingly enough, the double tram lines that you see in the tile that's run through that pool is a DA condition that we had to indicate where the old children's pool was. So those tram lines that you see here, this outline here is the outline of where the old children's interactive pool was. That gives you also, I guess, an idea of how large it was. We've significantly increased the children's interactive area. It'll include water jets, splash pads, a whole lot of interactive elements, soundscape, lighting, that will make this a much bigger and more attractive area for kids and families to come and play at the pool. That's just a bird's eye view of it. shows you exactly how that, and you can get a better idea, I guess, of the outline of the old children's interactive pool here, of what it looks like, and also an idea then of how much larger the new facility will be. Some more shots of what the jets and water play, interactive water play will look like. Another shot of that. Now, for those people that are interested in architecture and interior design or exterior design, there's a very simple colour palette for the pool. And they're the 5 colours, if you like, and they're consistently used throughout the pool, in the finishes, in the furniture, in the fittings, in the fixtures. You'll see this colour palette come up again and again, and it's very simple. So that just gives you an idea of what we're using. And it obviously then matches into the elements of the pool that we're using, from the timber panels, tiles, brickwork, concrete pavers. It gives you an idea of how that colour palette then translates into the materials that are used across the site. We're also introducing a new graphic and signage typology. So this is quite contemporary. So this has been done by Frost Design, who are probably one of the best graphic and signage companies in Australia. And they've come up with this signage typology, which you'll see across the pool for all the different elements, activities and areas that are going to be built. For instance, that's just an example of where the male-female change signage is for when you come into the new entry into the pool. Just gives you an idea of how that signage typology works out. There's some ideas of what the graphics and the lettering would look like for the new development at the entry area of the pool. It's not far off the existing heritage typology, but it gives you an idea of it's a slightly more contemporary design. This is a slide that shows you what some of the internal finishes will look like. So this shows you the lockers, the seating, the change facilities for what would be typical in the male-female disabled change areas. And that's what the end result will look like when it's finished. And this is what we're proposing the new Hall of Fame will look like. So when we bring all the wonderful artefacts back from storage, this is where we propose to put them. So honour boards, the trophy cabinets, all the artefacts, the loose artefacts that have been taken out of the pool will be returned into this new Hall of Fame area, which is in pretty much the same location as the existing Hall of Fame is now, but it's obviously treated in a very different way, in a more contemporary way. And we will be using a lot of audio-visual. It's not clear in this slide, but the wall to the left of the screen there is an audio-visual heritage interpretation package that goes with all of this, that explains the history of the pool, talks about the important elements of the pool, things like the 86 world records that have been held and broken at the pool. This will become a much bigger, more interactive Hall of Fame than what we've currently got, and I think it'll celebrate the history of the pool in a lot better way than what's currently there at the moment. So that's the end of the PowerPoint presentation, and I guess I'll hand back over to Ken, who's now going to facilitate the question part of tonight's presentation and activities. So I'll hand back over to Ken now, and he can MC the questions.
Okay, thanks, Duncan. As I mentioned right at the beginning, there were a number of questions that were submitted on registration, and I'll go through a range of those. A number of the questions I'll address personally, others that are more aligned to the construction or engineering of the pool, I'll hand over to Duncan. I'd also remind you that those that have further questions, please use the chat function. Subject to time, we will try to address any supplementary questions that you may have. So one of the questions that we have here, and the staff have tried to group these together, so if you don't really hear your individual question, it may well be that it's been grouped with several others. But one of the matters that's been constantly raised is, will the pool still use harbour water? And there is a supplementary question related to that in respect to EPA licensing. In essence, yes, the water quality will be significantly improved on what's available there now. The water quality, and there's a detailed fact sheet on this in Council's website, will be saline water, so salty water, but not as salty as what's currently used directly from the harbour. Saline water has a salt content that's more akin or more level with the salt water in your eyes or in your tears, and that makes it the water much more comfortable to swim in. While some people love the heavy salt water that we have at the moment, it certainly makes you more buoyant and therefore easier to swim. Others hate it. In particular, we get complaints from children with stinging in their eyes and the like. Saline water is the higher quality water in the current pool standards, and that's the standard that we're aiming to provide in the new facility. In producing the saline water, we'll use a mix of potable water and harbour water to create the saline mix. But what's most important as well is that we'll use the harbour water through an on-site chlorinator to establish the chlorine to treat the water. At the moment, we bring in bagged or manufactured chemical chlorine. But what will happen with the new facility is we'll utilise the harbour water to produce our own chlorine, as well as using the harbour water within the pool itself to produce the saline level of the water. So that does a number of things. One, it improves the overall water quality. Secondly, it has some significant environmental benefits because we're no longer using manufactured chlorine. Thirdly, of course, there's a cost associated with that, so we reduce ongoing operational costs of having to buy in chlorine. And most importantly for this restricted site, it reduces the amount of space required to store and handle chlorine, and of course the time taken to do it, so it automates a lot more of that function. So it gives us a lot better result and effectively enables more of the area that's available to us to be used for providing functionality to customers as opposed to chemical storage. In respect to the question on EPA licensing, there was a question raised as to whether the use of saline water will result in the loss of the EPA licence, the future use of harbour water. Well, firstly, no, because we need a continued EPA licence to access the harbour water, which we'll use for generation of a chlorine, as I just mentioned, and for mixing to produce the saline water. But on top of that, it's important to note that environmental licenses aren't provided in perpetuity. They're provided usually for a time frame, and they can be adjusted and are regularly adjusted by the Environmental Protection Agency or the Environmental Department as contemporary standards change. And that's something that we're noting at the moment as we empty the existing pools. I mean, historically, the salt water was merely taken in and out of the pool facility. We're no longer able to do that. The salt water on emptying the pool, which has subsequently had aluminium added, now has to be discharged through the sewer system. It can't be just discharged directly into the pool. So there's much higher standards that are applying even now compared to when the pool was originally established. Moving on, there's a question on finance. How is the pool to be funded, and what will be done to ensure that it doesn't go over budget? The current overall budget for the entire project, and I will round to the nearest $1 million, is $64 million, of which $38 million will come from a loan, $10 million is from federal government funding, $5 million from state funding, and $18 million from council, which is currently held in reserves for the purpose of the redevelopment. That budget includes our project management costs. It covers an allowance for contingencies. And what we've done to try to control the project costs during the construction phase is we've been very careful on how we've specified the development. So as much as possible, it's been done as a fixed price contract. Other parts of the project which may be subject to variation have been specified on unit rates. The council has very strong controls under the contract as far as approving those in advance rather than getting variation requests after the fact. We also have the capacity to change a number of the variable components within the pool if we wish. So there are separable components of the facility that, should we wish to not proceed with or proceed in a slightly different manner, we've built that in the contract so that we're able to do that and we know the dollar values associated with it, as opposed to trying to negotiate variations through a contract, which all gives council significantly greater control. There is always risks with a project of this nature, particularly when you're building on a harbour foreshore. The biggest risk, of course, is latent conditions. Significant geo-survey work was undertaken in advance of the project. There are certain areas, though, where we couldn't access. So there is always a potential risk from latent conditions. But overall, we believe we have that as controlled as you can with a project of this nature. There's a question here as to why have you taken $3 million for the reserve for open spaces when we are desperately short of open space in various areas? And the answer to that goes to the construction of council's infrastructure charges scheme and infrastructure charges reserve. We do not have separate reserves or separate infrastructure charges for open space versus recreation. Open space and recreation is pulled together. So the reserves that we hold, or the infrastructure charges we apply for open space and recreation, and a certain component of that includes the North Sydney Olympic Pool as part of the program. So that's why that funding has come from there. I'd also point out that particularly in the last 12 months, we've had significant additional contributions over and above even what went into the 2020-21 budget for open space and recreation. Council's been able to attract approximately $4 million in funding from the state government legacy program. That funding will be utilised to acquire the old quarantine site and create greater open space down around Berries Bay and include the improved connectivity. We've also been able to attract $2.6 million in federal government funding, largely accelerated or provided in response to COVID. That's allowing us to redevelop the Primrose Park tennis courts, and it's also allowed us to upgrade a number of children's playgrounds and other open space areas. So that those funds coming from that reserve, one, it's appropriate in accordance with the infrastructure charges scheme, and secondly, it hasn't been to the detriment of open space, as we've been able to attract significant additional funding for that. We've also got $1 million for public domain along Middle Street and in Kirribilli, and there's a range of other programs that we're currently applying for and are confident of seeking funding. The next question, and this was quite a discussion, or there was quite a bit of public discussion about this in media prior to Christmas, or prior to New Year. Is it true that the contractor is the same company that built the Opal Tower? It is true that they have the same name. It is true that they now share the same parent company in Kashima Constructions, but it is not true that the company that council is engaged to construct the North Sydney Pool is the same company that constructed the Opal Tower. The company that council has contracted with is now called Icon SI. Icon SI were formerly Cochrane Constructions. They were acquired by Kashima as Cochrane Constructions in approximately 2017, and they were renamed to Icon SI in 2018, I believe quite late in 2018. The group that built the Open Towers was Icon New South Wales, which had its genesis in a separate Icon company, which was also but separately acquired by Kashima. So while they're now part of the same group, the people that are constructing the North Sydney Olympic Pool are a separate group and come from a different background than the ones that built Opal Tower. Just skipping through, there's a question here about the swimming pool versus the fitness facility, and there's also questions in regard to what assurance can we give North Sydney ratepayers that the redevelopment of the pool will not result in increase in fees. As I said right at the very beginning, one of the important considerations in specifying the redevelopment, and we've had a considerable amount of work undertaken for this, was to try to develop a facility that would pay its own way, so it didn't continue or wasn't necessary to subsidise it from rates. Swimming pools or aquatic facilities, aquatic recreation facilities of this nature have a very high fixed cost component to their operations, and a relatively smaller portion, although still sizable portion, of operating or variable costs. So in order to meet that fixed cost, it's important that we get maximum utilisation of the facility. Hence, not only from providing service to the community was it important to provide a broad range of facilities so we could attract clientele of all demographics, but it was also important for the financial operations of the facility. So the fact that we've got a facility that should be attractive to families and children, as well as traditional swimmers, and the more mature that might want to access a warm water pool and socialise, helps us maintain patronage. Very importantly, the shore side or the gymnasium facilities of the recreational facility are also very important in meeting the ongoing or providing revenues to meet the ongoing costs and defraying the fixed cost component of the facility. Annual memberships of a larger gymnasium provide a significant core funding to effectively continue to operate this facility and ensure that we don't have an ongoing burden on ratepayers. Moving on for questions, and I might have to hand a couple to you. Find one for you, Duncan. I think I need a glass of water.
I can answer all the ones we've just received that have been raised.
Well, why don't you have a go? People are probably sick of listening to me, and then I'll come back with a few others.
Okay. Thanks, Ken. So these are a number of questions that have come through the forum tonight, and I've just been told we've got 5 minutes left, but I can pretty much go through all of these very quickly. So these are some of the forum questions that have come through tonight. Will the warm water pool ramp be moved to the centre of the pool hall next to the 25-metre pool? Yes, that's correct. So if we're still sharing the screen, if you look on this slide, the pool ramp will now be moved into this location. Okay, so yes, the answer to that question is the ramp does swap from the edge of the 25-metre pool to the centre part of this facility. What's the capacity of each steam room and sauna? So the capacity for the steam room and sauna is 6 adults in each. So that's 6 in the steam room, 6 in the sauna, approximately. Next question, is there an understanding what will be used to fill in the existing pool and what precautions are being out into place to avoid subsidence with a shallower pool? So in answer to that question, the 50-metre pool is being completely removed, as is the children's pool. They are sitting on bedrock, okay? So there's no fill that we're aware of underneath them. The new 50-metre pool and the new children's pool are going to be pretty much built on bedrock, okay? Because remember, we're on the harbour foreshore here. It's an old rock shelf So we don't anticipate there's going to be any loose fill underneath the new facility. It's going to be pretty much piled onto bedrock. The next question, is it easy to get from the lower to the upper grandstand? Yes, the lower to the upper grandstand, remember you have lift access, but you also have stair access as well. What access to the 50-metre pool from the Hall of Fame? So you walk down the Hall of Fame in the image I've shown you, and you can access through the facilities, the male-female change facilities, into the 50-metre pool. So you come in through the Hall of Fame if you want to, and you can go into the change facilities and open up onto the 50-metre pool deck. What width of the access are there down through the sections of the grandstand? So the stair access widths down through both sections of the grandstand, which have a centre handrail in the middle of them, either side is 1.4 metres. So that's a total of 2.8 metres. So it's 1.4 on one side, 1.4 on the other side. So that's the width of the stair access as you go up and down the grandstand. Last question I've got here from the forum is, will the grey tiles for the pool surrounds be as slip resistant with water on them as the concrete surrounds? And the answer to that is yes, all the tiles that have been selected for the pool in all the wet areas, change facilities around the pool sides, have been selected with slip resistance and meeting Australian standards in terms of slip resistance in mind. Of course, we all know that when you build pools, the last thing you want, and I think I know where this question might have come from, maybe another pool recently finished, the last thing you want is to be slipping over on floor surfaces that don't meet slip resistance standards. So those tiles and all finishes around in the wet areas will meet and exceed Australian standards in terms of slip resistance.
Okay, well, just coming back to these questions, and we are running very short of time, so we are going to have to wrap it up very soon. One of the questions that's been asked, and I think I saw it pop up on the screen there as well. I think I've just got some further questions coming in now. But one of the questions that's been raised on several occasions is regarding the depths of the indoor facilities. So the indoor 25-metre pool, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, Duncan, I understand is 1.2 to 1.3 metres in depth.
That's the 25-metre pool, the 4-lane 25-metre pool.
And that's, by the way, is 4 2.5-metre lanes, which is important. So while it might seem like a reduction in number of lanes from the existing pool, the lane widths are significantly bigger. And
I might just add that that is exactly the same depth as what exists there now.
Yeah, and the other indoor 25-metre program pool is 1.1 to 1.3 metres? No,
it's 0.9 to 1.3, and that's been increased on the requests of the community, that it went from 0.9 to 1.1. We've increased the depth by 200 millimetres to 1.3, which was requested by the community.
Yeah, and I'll just point out, with depths is always an issue. Those depths, of course, allow easy swimming. Your knuckles aren't going to drag on the ground while people are swimming, but it also provides a reasonable height for learn to swim, which is particularly important to us. So for trainers to be able to stand up and hold children or support children while they're learning to swim, and it provides a reasonable height as well for people to walk in the water. And again, one of the experiences we had from other recent development facilities is patronage, particularly during the day outside of peak periods, from mature people or retired people, is a significant portion of attendees, and they tend to like warm water that they can walk in and socialise in. So that was an important consideration. There are other questions in regard to access, I think, and also showers, and I might address those. One of the things that's been important in the design of this facility, and we have been assisted by the specialists and advisors in this regard, is that there will be multiple entries. So there can be separate entries for example, for school swim groups and normal customers, and that allows us to be able to quickly move groups in and out without causing large congestion from normal swim users. And it also gives us the capacity then to segregate the facility and use the facility for separate purposes, if you like. So we can provide access to different parts of the facility for different groups and make it much easier to get people in and out. And as I said, in particular with large school groups is the most obvious example. Toilet facilities and shower facilities. I think Duncan has pointed out very clearly that there's men's and females toilet facilities on both levels. There's also family change room facilities. The family change room, the facilities I also understand will allow us to improve and provide separate access for the likes of school groups versus other users in other parts of the facility. So we can meet current standards and provide greater levels of segregation, which the school teachers prefer. I think that addresses the main component. There is questions, and I think Duncan already addressed. It's approximately 20-minute construction time. We expect the facility under the current program to be reopened in the summer of 2022. Exactly when in the summer is something that's to be seen, depending on the program. And of course, that's subject to weather conditions, latent conditions, and the like. But our aim is to have the new facility open for at least half of the 2022 summer. Thank you very much. I'm getting.
We might just we'll do the last couple of questions we've got from the forum. We've already answered one of them, which is the depth of the warm water pool, from Gillian, and then maybe Ken, the last question for the night. Don't know if you want to.
This is so much a question as a statement. There was a statement that Aqua Dining and Ripple's rents have supported the cost for the pool facility. It should be mentioned. That is true. That provides a revenue source that helps ensure that the overall facility is not a burden on ratepayers. But certainly, while it provides a proportion of the funding to run a facility of this size with heated warm water and with the staffing required to meet life-saving standards around swimming pools, requires funding from a range of additional service areas as well. And I think, again, that's it. Thank you very much for your attendance this evening. I believe there's a short break now and then a further presentation that's scheduled to take place at 7:30. So thank you very much for your time. Goodbye, everybody.